Hobby Quick Hits. Delivering that breaking hobby news directly to your earlobes. You want to know those hot drops from the card shop? We've got you covered. With your host, John Newman.
Hey everybody, Hobby Quick Hits episode 142. Back after a week hiatus, but get used to it. That's what's going to be. Hobby Quick Hits going to be every other week, along with our new show, Card Mentions, which I do with Danny Black, my good friend. So this week it's Hobby Quick Hits. Next week, Card Mentions. Shameless plug there. Next week's show, if everything goes as scheduled, we'll have Dr. James Beckett joining Card Mentions. He's worthy of being a mensch himself, so he'll be on episode 2 talking about the dichotomy of the Beckett deal when he kind of sold his company. Not kind of, he did in 2005. And we're gonna I don't want to say deep dive it, but I guess sort of deep dive it. Some questions on my mind and Danny's mind as well, and it's gonna be fun. We're probably gonna learn some stuff as much as we know about it, right? Talking to the person who's right there on the front lines of that transaction. I'm sure we'll learn some other things, whatever, Dr. Jim is willing to share. We're going to be respectful of his privacy, that is personal dealings. Even though it's public knowledge, it's still his personal transaction. So we're going to talk about that, and it's going to be interesting, I believe, to say the least. So every other week between this show, Hobby Quick Hits, and the Card Mentions. So today, even though it was now 2 weeks ago, we're going to talk about the Syracuse Collectors Fest, actually known as Collectors Show number 85, the Megashow number 85. This is a show the promoter does once a year. It's a big show which incorporates cards, toys, collectibles, games, vintage toys, antiques, that sort of thing. It does them once a year. This was this show. I'm going to talk about how it went. It was also the first time I was a bulk submitter for SGC. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about a sign that was on the door, put up there by the promoter of this show that was a hot button topic, went viral, went hobby viral anyway, and became a hot button topic. Well, the promoter, Mr. Lynn Lake, is scheduled to appear on the December 30th episode of Sports Card Nation. We're going to talk about his career, the ins and outs of being a promoter, and we're also going to talk about that sign which said about collectors not selling to other collectors on the show floor. And that kind of rubbed some people the wrong way. We're going to talk about that as well. That'll be December 30th. But we're going to deep dive the Mega Show number 85 on today's episode. But first, we're going to hear from our great sponsor, Mojo Breaks, Doug and Dan and their team in Santa Clara, California, doing big things always. We're going to hear from them, and then we'll get the show on.
MojoBreakShop.com is the best place to get your sealed wax products and brakes. They not only have the best selection, but the best prices. Whether it's a box or a whole case, they are your guys. They ship worldwide to your doorstep. Their reputation as one of the most trusted in the hobby goes unmatched. They are the 2021 Topps Rip Party Champion Breakers. From sports card to Pokemon cards, their selection can't be beat. They offer daily deals and pre-orders.
Hey guys, John Newman here. Mojo's prices are already great, but to save an additional 10% off anything in their store, use the code QUICKHITS. That's QUICKHITS. Check out the full service store that's open 7 days a week in Santa Clara, California, or the website at mojobreak.com.
Let's check out this week's hobby wax releases. Take it away, Owen.
Hey guys, I'm from Sports Card Shop. Here are the new releases for the next 2 weeks. On the 21st, we have Bowman Draft Baseball Jumbo, Bowman Draft Baseball Super Jumbo, Panini Donruss Optic UFC, Panini Prism Racing, Topps Chrome Update Series Baseball, Upper Deck SP Authentic Hockey. And on the 23rd, we have Panini and Eminence FIFA World Cup Qatar Soccer, Topps 5-Star Baseball, and Topps Garbage Pail Kids Chrome. On the 28th, we have Bowman Draft Baseball Light, Topps Chrome Formula One Racing, Topps Star Wars Chrome Galaxy, Upper Deck Fleer Ultra Marvel Avengers, Upper Deck Marvel Beginnings Volume 1. And on the 30th, we have Leaf Decadence Multisport, Panini Capstone Baseball, Panini Chronicles WWE, Panini Mosaic Football, Panini Select WWE Asia Edition. On the 30th again, last one, we have Topps MLS Finest Soccer. See you guys again.
Let's go round the hobbyverse and catch up on this week's hobby news.
Not a huge bunch of stories this week, but remember, we got to cover 2 weeks of ground now because we do Hobby Quick Hits 2 times a month rather than 4 times a month with card benches bursting onto the scene. So got 3 stories today in the hobby news portion. The big one, Aaron Judge, home run number 62 ball, turned down $3 million. Corey Humans should have took it. I said it then, just had a feeling, and based on the final in the Golden's auction, obviously I was right. Some other people said the same thing. It got $1.5 million versus via Golden's auctions. Air quotes Joe from Wisconsin, a memorabilia collector, high-end, obviously, memorabilia collector, was the buyer. He was quoted as saying he was very surprised that bid held up and won, but happy he'll take it. And so, a lesson and maybe a little greed there. Now, listen. Don't cry too hard for Corey Humans. For the price of a Texas Rangers Yankees game ticket, he caught that ball and sold it for 1.5 on Golden's auction. So ROI still intact, but cut his profit margin down in half, and then you factor in all the auction fees and that sort of thing, even more so. So just a lesson and I guess greed, for lack of a better way to put it, there. Mickey Mantle cards continue to bring big money. The actual rookie, not the 1952 Topps that people think is his rookie, but the 1951 Bowman, a PSA 9, just sold in Memory Lane's auctions for $3.19 million, and that shattered the previous record of $750,000. So this copy brought 4 times more money than the previous sold version. So there you go. And let's close out with Upper Deck signing a young player to an exclusive contract. 17-year-old Braden Yeager from the CHL team Moose Jaw, projected to go in the top 5 of the 2023 NHL draft. He's a goal scorer, and he signed an exclusive card deal, memorabilia deal, and auto deal.
And now, our feature presentation.
All right, so we're going to, deep dive the December 4th Collectors Fest Megashow number 85. Try saying that 10 times fast again. We have about 4 to 6 shows at the New York State Fairgrounds, run by promoter Lynn Lake. He does, one of those is called the Megashow, which is 250 tables, and it encompasses not only cards, but toys, collectibles, games, other stuff outside the sports card realm as well. He He had this year, he had the Ghostbusters car there. He had the TARDIS from The Who. And he also had Stormtroopers, Darth Vader, R2-D2 was rolling around on the floor as part of the Star Wars brigade there as well. Great show, well attended. I believe over 1,000 people attended. I've done shows now since age of 15, so I got to do some math here. And 48 years, a couple years I didn't do any shows, but over 40 years of setting up at shows. But this time was the first as a bulk subber for SGC. Promoter Lynn asked me if SGC would be interested in coming to the show as a to take subs, but not big enough for them. And then, I asked them, about bulk subbing and doing it at the Syracuse shows and here locally. And we worked out those terms. And so it was my first foray into doing that. And want to give a shout out to my friend Nick Brower, who AAN Collect. He'll be on the show at some point. He's getting his store up and running. He said, "Hey, John, we don't normally set up together, but if you're going to do that SGC thing, maybe Lynn would set us up in the same area. That way I can keep an eye on your stuff if you're tending to SGC stuff, or vice versa, right? I can help with the SC table if you're tending to your stuff." And so Lynn set us up that way, and worked out great, and was able to sort of wear those different hats. Nick helped out as well, so shout out to him. Got triple digits in submissions going to SGC, and at the time of this recording, they are there getting graded, and they will be, as SGC's on top of stuff, getting stuff back quick. I will probably have those, in a matter of a few days here. Funny story with that. So I intake these cards from other people, right, for SG submissions, a lot of them. And, this was Sunday. And so got them all, got my system set up, got my code, and got the package with all these cards headed SG's way on Tuesday afternoon. And, insured, well protected, well packed, sent it priority. So send it Tuesday, right? Priorities 2 days. Now, was Tuesday evening, or towards the late afternoon. So even at 3 days, that would make it arrive on Friday, right? 2 days is Thursday. Friday would be 3 days. Well, it's tracking, and all of a sudden, it's in Charleston, Carolina on Friday, and doesn't look like it's getting to Boca Raton, Florida, probably till Saturday at the earliest. Well, it tracks, but it doesn't move. It's like stuck in Charleston. The date just changes each day. And now my nerves are shot, right? These are not my cards. These are a lot of other people's cards. These are a lot of expensive cards. And I'm worried, like, why isn't this moved in 3 days? And, thinking all the worst case scenarios, right? What if the package is damaged? Cards are missing. What if the whole box itself is MIA? Now, I have insurance, and we can, that's an episode, another separate episode, probably do, about collectible insurance. But, I'm insured, but I've never had to file a claim. I don't know how it works, because, most insurance companies try to find a loophole so they don't have to pay, the complete value or as much as you want them to. And so I'm thinking all these worst case scenarios. I'll make the story shorter. I called USPS, kind of told them the dilemma. They put a search on it, and then I noticed it started to move again. I'm not saying because of that phone call, but it did start to move again. And it did arrive in Boca Raton, Florida to SGC headquarters 8 days after I sent. So 2 day priority, got there 8 days later. Now, we know what time of year it is, right? Christmas time, big shipping season with presents, that stuff, packages from businesses to retail customers. So, very busy time of year. You can expect delays, but this was kind of nerve-wracking and scary. But it is there. They're in the process of grading it. It was really fun doing that at the show and seeing some of these cards. I won't get into all the gory details. After doing it the first time, I did learn something that I will employ at the next show where I take SGC bulks up. Will actually make my life a little bit easier as well. So So that's in Boca Raton. Those are getting graded. The show, like I said, over 1,000 people. It did make news for another reason. Lynn Lake, the promoter, put a sign on the door, 8x10 sign that said that basically, collectors shouldn't really sell to other collectors and they can sell to dealers, and that should be, the only selling should be dealer to collector or collector to dealer. And a lot of people, someone took a picture of that, put it on social media, and it went viral. It was making the rounds. People were giving their opinion one way or the other. And it's funny, it really seemed split about 50-50 on people who agreed with the flyer and people who didn't agree with the flyer and thought it was in poor taste. Now, we're going to have Lynn on Sports Card Nation, so I don't want to get into a lot of it here on this episode. We're going to speak to the man directly, but I've known him long enough. I believe, it didn't come from a negative place. I think he was just trying to protect his dealers who set up at the show and keep it fair to collect too. But again, we'll have that conversation on Sports Card Nation with Lynn himself. But I just wanted to kind of give you a little backstory there as well. So 1,000 people attended. So the sign didn't scare off that many people. But I'm just kidding there. Traffic was pretty good. The SGC subs were strong, I thought, especially for the first time out. It's funny, and even though the show's done, I've gotten some emails and private message people who couldn't make it to the show that wanted the sub. Business, as far as selling cards, was pretty good. I've done 3 shows there in like the last 4 months. The first one was really good, sort of record setting for a local show. Then the second one was better than the first one. Then the third one, I did 4 in like 5 months. Then the third one was solid, but didn't reach the level of the first 2. And this one, not including the SGC portion, just my Newman Sports Card side of the house. Again, a good show, very good show. And, I joked with, I mentioned my friend Nick that set up in the round with me. We were joking during the show because he did pretty well too. We were just being sarcastic, saying, I guess the hobby's dead, kind of saying it out loud where people could hear it and smirk or, banter with us and that sort of thing. So, good, very good show. And, the hobby again is not dead. Are there people leaving it? Sure, there's some. Are there new people coming in? You better believe it. So, it's still plentiful, still numbers, and there's still transactions going down. And by the strength of those SG subs, people are still grading cards, and the hobby's still doing okay. So, like Paul McCartney, I think you say, right? My demise has been greatly exaggerated. So, the hobby's demise greatly exaggerated as well. Is it what it was, during the crescendo, as I call it, the crescendo? No. And, but you knew that wasn't going to last forever, or you should have known it wasn't last forever. So, I know it felt like it was gonna, and there was times it went on long enough where you thought the ride would never sort of stop, but that's not always how it works. So very pleased with the show. I have some time off, at least from setting up at shows now, because the next one's not till March. Syracuse is cold and snowy in the winter and warm in the summer, and where these shows take place is at the New York State Fairgrounds, where obviously, as the name implies, the New York State Fair is, and that's seems to get longer every year. And so we don't have a lot of shows in the heart of winter, and Lynn has to schedule the shows around the New York State Fair. And while the fair might be 14 or 16 days long, there's a month of prep and setup that goes into it as well, where he can't get the buildings for the show, and then obviously after that. So the schedule's not every month, and then we have a couple months where we have a show each month and that sort of thing. But after that December Megashow, which is early December, there's usually not another show for a few months to March. So that will be the next one I do, is I don't really travel anymore to set up at shows. I used to. I do go to shows every once in a while in Dallas, or I made Toronto or whatnot. But as a dealer myself, I don't do much travel. Something I thought about maybe doing every once in a while, but haven't reached my dealing days in the last few years. So always fun to travel, but also gets a little more trickier the older you get. So again, very solid show. Had a blast hanging out, joking with Nick. Some friends of mine came by and came behind the table, hung out with me. My son came by and grabbed me some food, walked around, checked some stuff out. So just a good vibe, a good atmosphere. I brought some cards to Dan Ryan, who's local DR on Twitter, United States Sports Cards on Twitter, and gave him a couple free Green Bay Packer cards that I knew he would enjoy, and so that was good. He gave me a Clem Labine auto. Didn't know he was going to do that. So card shows, there's something to be said. I always say there's something to be said about a card show, right? Those in-person social interactions, talking to people, and even the transactions, right? To buy a card and get to see it and hold it before you make the purchase, get to talk to the dealer, haggle maybe with price. As a dealer, get to buy some cards from the customers. That being said, though, I will be honest, I'm trying to think. I didn't buy any cards, but I did make a trade with a young man who was he was playing a contest with his friend. They both started out with the same card, and their goal was to trade up and at the end of the show, see who got the best card from that card. And young man came up to me with a Zach Wilson Prism Orange Scope Prism Rookie. If you've heard enough of my content, you know what I think of Zach Wilson as a quarterback. It's not good. I've even used the bust word. I think he's going to be a bust. And this young man told me the game he was competing against his friend with and asked about a couple cards. First, he asked if I was interested in the Zach Wilson, and I was pretty strong in telling him I'm not a big fan of Zach Wilson, don't believe in him, but I'll give this kid credit. He was persistent. What we trade for, he pointed to a couple cards. I wasn't going to give those up for this card. And but very polite, very respectful. He tried to, he's very persistent. And then he pointed to a Mike Trout game used jersey card, white, as they call them in the hobby, napkin swatch, right? I had $30 marked on the card, and he said, would you do it for that? And at first I'm like, not really. Again, I don't really want this Zach Wilson card. And, he's like, please, I'm trying to win this competition. And, he got me. I don't want to say, he got me in a bad way. Like he convinced me to make the deal. So I traded that $30 Trout white swatch game used card for the Zach Wilson orange Panini Prism card. And, I don't know. Value-wise, they're pretty similar, so it's fair in that regard. Again, I don't believe in Zach Wilson, but kind of my good deed for the day. I don't know what the end result was of that challenge, but I guess I did my part there. All right, thank you for listening to another episode of Hobby Quick Hits. Want to give out our social media, starting with our website, which is www.sportscardnationpodcast.com. Facebook, you can follow us at www.facebook.com/SportsCardNationPodcast/. Twitter, we are at SportsCardNati1, so it's SportsCard NATI1. Instagram, at SportsCardNationPodcast, or you can email the show, hobbyquickhits@gmail.com. Again, thanks for listening.